Hello YouTube, Michael Morgan here. This is Retro Book Reviews. Thank you for joining me today. And today I'm going to be reviewing The Gift of Fear and Other Survival Signals That Protect Us from Violence by Gavin De Becker. Before we get into that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button on this video, share this video. If you have suggestions for books you would like to see reviewed, just drop a comment below, or you can email us at retrobookraeviews@gmail.com. Okay, now have you ever been in a situation or around a person that just really gave you the creeps? Have you felt? Did you feel uneasy? Did you heed the warning signs and the red flags that were going up in that situation that were telling you to get out? And more importantly, what did you do in that situation? Did you heed those warnings, or did you choose to ignore them? And it's this book by Gavin De Becker, through his own traumatic childhood experiences, his professional experience as a highly sought-after security expert, and through his interviews with people who've been victims of violence, or people who are going through a situation where they needed some guidance. This really goes into great detail about how we can avoid those dangerous situations. And we unfortunately live at a time where violence seems to be a part of everyday life. I mean, you just turn on any news, just log on to any news site. There's always reports about various crimes being committed, and unfortunately, in a lot of places, the criminal justice system has become a revolving door. The criminals are put right back on the street as soon as they come in. And you have other illegal activity coming in from other places. It can create a very fearful environment. But just as the Bible says in 2 Timothy 1:7, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. And then when there is an unfortunate situation, such as a mass shooting, I mean, at this point, it could almost be stock footage. You will see the perpetrator's family. They'll say something like, "We had no idea he was capable of doing this," or somehow local law enforcement misses the signals, and the perpetrator falls through the cracks, and this act of violence happens before he's able to be apprehended or taken off the streets. And two people close by, oh, we had no way of knowing he was capable of doing such a thing. Well, very early in his book, Gavin De Becker dispels that myth. Because what De Becker writes here, and I'm quoting from the book, that we want to believe that with all the possible combinations of human beings and human feelings, predicting violence is as difficult as picking to win a lottery ticket. Yet it usually isn't difficult at all. Now, the truth is that every thought is preceded by a perception, every impulse is preceded by a thought, every action is preceded by an impulse, and man is not so private a being that his behavior is unseen, his patterns unpredictable. So right there, if we pay attention, pay attention to the warning signals, no, we're not going to be surprised by anything. It's not going to seem like it's a random act. In fact, De Becker also discusses what he calls pre-incident indicators, which he defines as those detectable factors that occur before the outcome being predicted. He uses the example, if you take a first step on the first rung on a ladder, that's a predictor that you're going to step on the second rung and the third rung, and so and so forth. Because the Becker says that everything a person does is created twice. First, the thought comes across your mind. You have the idea, and then you have the execution of that particular idea. And these ideas and impulses that people have, they are the pre-incident indicators for action. And also, this the book where it talks about the gift of fear. That's not talking about being fearful, or being tormented by fear. or where you cannot interact in everyday life. That's not. De Becker does a great job later on in the book distinguishing, the irrational fears that we have, and the fear that he is talking about, which is our intuition. Because every human being since the dawn of time, that they have an intuition that alerts us to danger. I mean, it's not just something that's related to modern times. I mean, our ancestors were, they had heightened senses of of danger that could be out there because they had to deal with vicious predators. Yeah, whereas today, we tend to think, we live, we're more quote unquote civilized. We have mastered the environment indoors. That we don't really have a need to pay attention to any of that stuff, and that couldn't be further from the truth. And just as I said, the Becker does a great job distinguishing, between being fearful and, and to get the fear, listen to our intuition about when something's not right. Sometimes you might call it a funny feeling, you might call it trusting your gut. And to it, I've been in situations in my life, not necessarily, I dealt with violent situations, but just, you just get that feeling that says, don't do this. Something's not right here. Too, and there are times that, that I listen to that voice, and then there are other times I just, I made a mistake, and sometimes it can cost you. It can cost you years of your life. It can set you back financially. It's just a very simplified example. Yeah, so we should be mindful of what's around us, but we should not live in fear of everything lurking around the corner. The Becker also talks about that we should develop our intuition. It's just like sharpening a skill, like building a muscle. And he also gave three primary reasons as to why people don't develop their intuition. He said one, that we live in a world where experts tell us what to do. As we've gone through in recent years, we've been, people are often, they'll do what the government tells them to do, for example, or what this expert says to do, what not to do. And so that can dull our intuition about situations. Or we also rely on inaccurate information. And of course, in the age of the internet, there's a lot of information about any topic out there, and it's not all good information. So we have to sort through. We have to be the gatekeepers and the editors of what we allow in our minds. And then some people believe that, I'm just not an intuitive person. That's not the case either. I would encourage you to read the book, because he goes into such great detail. I couldn't do it justice on a simple review, but he has entire chapters dedicated to survival signals, the elements of prediction. It is a lot of information to digest. He talks about a lot of real situations that have happened, and some of the stories he has changed the names of the people if they were a particular client, to protect their privacy. He also goes into detail about certain famous cases, and these cases that were famous at the time the book was published in 1997. For instance, he does talk about the O.J. Simpson trial. And it's other various situations, I think, are just important to read. And if you're not old enough to remember those situations, I encourage you to look up what he's discussing here in the book. I mean, it's very insightful. And there's also other real life situations about workplace violence, about stalkers, about people who are just overly persistent and won't take the hint. That you're not interested. Yeah, so there is such valuable, possible life-saving information. That's within this book. You need to arm yourself with that knowledge in order to protect yourself, especially if you live in an area where defending yourself is a difficult proposition. For one reason or another, you need to rely on your instincts to help you avoid those situations. Too, and just the nature of the book itself is it's very informative, and it has a lot of studies about true crimes that have occurred. So if you're really into the whole crime as entertainment aspect of it, I encourage you to read this book as well. I just would like to thank you for joining me today, and may God bless you.